And I ask everyone, please take a seat. All right. So as already targeted in the discussion on the challenges and requirements, it looks as if there is a need of global interoperability, of course. And therefore, the second session, exchange and discussion of industry consensus and standards for data spaces interconnection, is of utmost importance if we want to talk about international and global data sharing, sovereign data sharing, and data spaces. So I welcome you to the session 2 of the today's Global Data Spaces Roundtable. I again welcome not only the guests here in the room and the speakers here at the roundtable, but also the online participants, which are following our roundtable from different countries. The opening of the session 2 will be done by Professor Liu Dong from Beijing International Data Lab and the IDSA China Competence Center. The input of Liu Dong is titled Data Spaces to Facilitate Global Data Flow and Fulfill the Potential in the Era of AI. Liu Dong, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Thank you. Introduction. I'm very happy to hear to have a data space top level experts to change opening in Barcelona, and it's my honor. And today I will share my speak, and hope to during the Barcelona meeting we have enough time to change opening to talk about how to the next step. So generally, I think the internet in China is amazing and growing in the past 100 years. So we have benefit from the internet in the China. We know the data is important, its value, its power, its future. With the development, we have a lot of data. Now it's increasing. Now more and more the industry need the data to industry upgraded and to find the new model to value, to make the value. And we should make the data flow established when we face any challenges in the AI age. So China benefit a lot of the internet. We have many success the business case and the models during the past 20 years. We have so many data, and China have a quarter of the global data. And as you know, need, and the China has many internet, the platform and the technical platform. They have huge data. And they need the data develop the new business. But this here is a story. They have a data loss. The data flow and the data sharing is a very important issue. So at the same time, there are also the challenges in the sharing the public data, the industry data, and the personal data, because we need to find the balance between the data flow and the privacy protection. In the past 2 years, the China issued many laws about this topic. Now, AI challenges the way we use the data. It's challenging. We need to answer the more questions when we share the data. So this is why data is a strategic at the China administration. Last year, the central government established the National Data Bureau. The Data Bureau armed to make good use of the data and develop the digital economy. Also, the Data Bureau will be the interface of the international exchange on the data topic. So far, they have over 20 province-level data bureau launched it. In the 2024, this year, we will see the more the data agencies, such as the data bureau and the city levels. Now, the National Bureau issued an action plan to promote data sharing, data exchanging in the 12 key industries to create 300 user cases by 2026. And it achieved to 20% growth rate in the data industry. The action plan is just like the European data strategic plan. But it's going to be a long way. It's not so easy to make the come true. The National Bureau and many of the big cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, and the promote the industry to use the data space, the technology and the concept. So like I said, we need to talk about the data flow. So data space is right here. So this happened. So the database is global popular. They have a goodwill. And the last topic we see that in Europe is welcome in Japan. The next speaker will be talk about the situation. So in China, we are IDSA, China Competition Center, to promote together with friends like Huawei and so on. This is important for everyone to contribute to the global data space industry. We are an amazing run last year. And we host many of the largest forum and conference on the data space for industry and the academic. Here, we are in Beijing, Guangzhou, Shanghai, and the World Internet Conference at Wuzhen. We start the data space relevant initiative with the industry and academic partners. Launches the first Chinese vision book, Data Space. So promote is important. I think the user case is more important. We also, the many user case is the try and the development. And for example, as the Huawei introduction is built the company's data space EDS, and also the managed industry data space, the Haier and Changhong use the data space architecture and concept technologies in its supply chain. Shanghai and start to build this smart city, use the data space technology. There's more in China, more than the 40 data exchange center in China, like Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Guangzhou. The using the data space to promote the data exchange and trading, and it's also on the way. All the big cities are doing this. And other important issues is the database is to promote the cross-border data flow. Here, I would like to introduce the important project issue, the Science Digital Innovation Project. The 6 top-level university and institute initiated in the Guangdong and Hong Kong and Macau Great Bay. This is one of the most domestic developed regions. In these regions, we have 3 legal systems, top layer companies, and universities, and many data. So this project is promote the cross-border data flow and the data sharing for research, for innovation, and for AI. Data space is perfect way to achieve this goal. With guidance from the Dr. Ahas and the IDS leaders, we start out the roadmap last year. And our target is to make the global project. We started the Great Bay area. We have welcomed the stakeholders to join and give the suggestion, ideas, and the contributions. Based on my experience in the internet and the data industry, I would like to share my thinking here. I think the data space has a good start, but we need the more the contributions. I think should have the consensus. We move forward together on the follow points. The promoted interconnection, encourage innovation, speed out application, the build ecosystem. About how to build the ecosystem, we must work with the multi-stakeholders on the follow points, international standard systems, open source communities, the test and evaluation facilities, integrated different technology like IPv6 and blockchain, more than products, solutions, and the users. Development of the data space in China is very important this year. We need to see the more the user case, more the business model, more and the develop of the data space. We're looking forward to with you. I believe we have many milestones going forward and happen in China. So thank you so much. This is I hope this together to make this happen together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Liu Dong, for this comprehensive overview and also relating the different initiatives, what has been achieved in China already, but also pointing to the challenges and to the future activities. So as already mentioned in your input, we are now shifting again to an online speaker. And I'm very happy to welcome and introduce to you Professor Noboru Koshisuka, who is on the one hand side representing Data Society Alliance, DSA in Japan, but who is also representing the University of Tokyo. Professor Koshisuka, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well. So I will hand over to you now. The next 10 minutes are yours, and I will click your presentation through. Please give me always a mark when I should do this, okay?
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. And I'm very sorry I cannot join the meeting So I make my presentation from Japan. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nobu Koshizuka. I'm working in the University of Tokyo and also a chair of the Data Society Alliance. And also the last year, our University of Tokyo, become IDSA Japan Hub. So I am now IDSA Japan Hub coordinator. So next, please. So now this is introduction. I have many initiative. I'm responsible for the many initiative related to data infrastructure or data spaces in Japan. For example, the data EX. This is a project of the Data Society Alliance, and also IDSA Japan Hub coordinator. And smart city. Smart city is very important application for data sharing and data space. So Smart City Social Implementation Consortium. I'm a director of this consortium and also director of the Weather Data by Business Consortium and for the carbon neutral, the Green by Digital Consortium. And another one is the AI Data Consortium. In Japan, there are many consortiums, so I'm very related to many consortiums. So next, please. So firstly, I'd like to talk about the background. Next, please. This is everyone will agree this issue now. Today is the era of data. Next, please. Because now the data in the world is increasing and increasing and like exponential manner. So next, please. So listen to many well-known innovation are all data-driven. For example, COVID-19 vaccine development, generative AI, smart city, self-driving car, all data-driven. So I am now insisting that artificial intelligence is not a good terminology because the AI is now, I think this is a data-driven intelligence, I think. So machine learning is very data-driven. I think the many years ago, artificial intelligence is intelligence by logics, the combination of logics, but now is a combination of big data. So now, not so artificial intelligence, not artificial intelligence. This intelligence is data-driven intelligence, I would like to say. So next, please. So part two is the data space initiative in Japan. The next, please. And I think that this diagram is I think the most important one in Japan. Because in Japan, there are many initiatives related to data platform or data spaces, and it can be divided into three layers. The first layer is application-specific data spaces. There are many data spaces in Japan. And the second layer is half domain, cross-domain, domain agnostic, but a little bit a half domain specific. That's the second layer. And the third layer, the bottom one is the completely domain agnostic, the cross-domain data exchange or data sharing platform. And the final one is only one. This is the data EX. This is our initiative. And there are many other initiatives. So next, please. And this is the very popular representative example of the first layer, domain-specific data sharing initiative in Japan. There are so many ones. For example, DataGo-JP is a national government open data initiative. And WILED is a local government open data initiative. IOP, this is for agriculture. TDPF by Tokyo Metropolitan Government. This is by local government. And with WXBC is Weather Data Initiative, and ODPT is the Public Transportation Data Platform Initiative. And MD Community is also the public transportation. And IVI is a manufacturing area. And AI Data Consortium is an initiative of the machine learning or artificial intelligence, not data-driven intelligence. And TELUS is an initiative of the space data. And WAGRI is agriculture, and GSpace is a geographical data platform. And next, please. And this is three very important half domain specific, half domain agnostic middle second layer data sharing platform. For example, Uranos. Uranos ecosystem is conducted by METI, Ministry of Economy and Trade and Industry. Uranus. I think this initiative is based on the supply chain or circular chain economics. And the second one is MLIT data platform. This is a national infrastructure like road or a bridge, a tunnel or a river and such kind of the national very hardware like infrastructure data spaces. And the right side is a Japan mobility data space. This is my project on the basis of the mobility. We would like to establish the mobility related data spaces. And next, please. This is the final layer, third layer, yeah, completely data, yeah, no, application agnostic and domain agnostic, domain cross-domain data sharing platform, data space, data EX. And next, please. The ultimate goal of the data EX is to establish a national level or large area data spaces, so the Japan data spaces, to establish the Japan data space. This is the ultimate goal of our data EX project. So next, please. In this project, the federation mechanism and data sovereignty federation mechanism is very essential, we think. So in Japan, there are so many data initiatives. So we would like to connect or federate all of them. So such kind of the connection federation is, I think, very important. So next, please. This is the organization of Data EX. So organization name is the Data Society Alliance, and we have already more than 100 members. Half of the member are companies, not only Japan but also international global company. For example, SAP, PwC, or Microsoft. Many global company are members of our DSA. And also some members come from the local government or Japan government. And next, I'm a chair of this organization. So, and the software developed by Japan company for the data platform federation software like connector mechanism or some kind of authorization, authentication mechanism or data logging mechanism. Such kind of software that we have finished the development and we are now open the software as an open source software in the GitHub. The software name is CADDE, and we are calling this one JADE. JADE is, I think, I heard that Turkish, Turkish, Turkish pronunciation. In Turkish, JADE means way. So road. So I think the JADE is a way of data, software for way of data. So JADE is very good. So JADE Turkish word. So next, please. And in our university, the University of Tokyo now providing from last year international data space technology test bed. In our university, we have already implemented such data JADE software, and also the IDSA, the Eclipse Data Connector related system we have already implemented in our university, and also a fireware system we are also implementing in our university. And now in our university, we have already the three kinds of data platform systems. And now we are researching how to be interoperable of these three one. I think this session, the objective of this session is internationalization, standardization and interoperability. So in our university, we are now such kind of activity. And next, please. Finally, I would like to say the international collaboration. Next, please. Our DSA have a history of the international collaboration with Fireware Foundation and the International Data Space Association, and also Gaia-X. We have a MOU of this organization and collaborating now. Next, please. And last year in our university, University of Tokyo, and DSA and IDSA have MOU had a MOU in November in last year, and establishing IDSA Japan Hub. It contains IDSA Hub Coordinator Japan and also IDSA Research Laboratory in Japan. And now we are starting the more closer relationship, closer collaboration with IDSA from last year. So the next please. This slide is the final slide. And last year, November, we have established this IDSA Japan Hub and have this Space Discovery Day ceremony of the establishment last year, November 22. So from last year and now, we'd like to be more active for the international collaboration or standardization for developing the interoperability and data global or data sharing. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Kushizuka, for this comprehensive introduction and overview on the Japanese activities. And as you have drafted this really comprehensive and overlooking strategy as well, I think there are requirements and challenges for global interoperability. So it really fits nicely in the session we are talking about here right now. And with this, I want to hand over to a place where basically implementations take place. And as open source have already been mentioned by several speakers, it's a great pleasure to have Gaël Blondel from the Eclipse Foundation with us, who is sharing with us inputs on open source and standardization. Gaël, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you for the invite to talk today. That's I'm honored to be with all the speakers today. So yes, my task today is to tell you a bit more about open source and standardization, and that's an interesting task because in the open source community, at least, we used to say that there are several meanings behind the term open, and typically that in open standard it's open in the meaning that everybody can participate. Whereas in open source, we really mean open, that like in the free software definition, if you like, which is that you have the right to run the software, to study the software, to change the software, and to modify it. And I think that's really two complementary definitions that meet really well in the domain of having open source implementations of open standards. And yeah, I would like to highlight this resource because that's something that has been designed already more than 10 years ago by the Open Source Initiative, which is what are the requirements for open standards to be implementable in open source. And that's something that is really important and to some extent maybe new to part of the crowd today. And for example, if you look at the second point about availability, that the standard must be freely and publicly available under royalty-free terms. That's something that is pretty interesting and potentially disruptive when when you talk about that in Barcelona during a Mobile World Congress, I think. But we have embraced that for some time now at the Eclipse Foundation. So since 2017, we have defined the Eclipse specification process, and this is really one slide to define it. And that's what you should keep in mind from this slide is that everything we do in terms of setting up open specifications and Eclipse specification is done in public and under open source project licenses. And so also what we define as a specification is also important in my opinion. Because we have the specification document, and Lars was mentioning that. So we have already several established specifications that are represented by a document, but we also integrate the APIs and the test compatibility kits. So all the software that enable the fact that different organizations can put together different implementations and verify and check that they work together. And also, we don't accept any specification if there is not at least one open source compatible implementation under a permissive license. And we think that that really makes a difference. So there are always plenty of reasons to have different implementations of software, but and some of them should be open source, some of them will be closed source, but the final stack of having a specification document that explains what the standard is about, having an API and TCK plus a compatible implementation, that's what I said before is really open standards on steroids, because you can take this and start building solutions on top of it. And that's really the mindset behind Eclipse specifications. So the specifications are developed in open source in a context of what we call a working group. So in the domain of data space, we have the data space working group. That's where we manage the intellectual property flow. We also support patent licensing in different ways, but more or less the message behind that is that when you take an Eclipse specification, it's safe to implement it in your product or in your software. And then there is something that is very important, which is a compatibility program. And with the compatibility program, it's really about listing all the implementations that are compatible with this specification. So last but not least, we also have the capability. So the Eclipse Foundation is a JTC one pass submitter. So we can submit our publicly available specifications to ISO IEC with a fast track. So we do that in, let's say, 12 months instead of 2-3 years, if you or more, if you would like, if you would have to start from scratch in ISO IEC. And we have done that already on some IoT and edge standards. And in the context of the Eclipse Data Space Working Group, we put this standardization effort at the core of the working group. So the mission of the working group is to define, document, standardize, and promote the protocols for data space related open source projects. And in the project plan, we already have specification projects for the data space protocol and the trust protocol. And IDSA submitted a few days ago the project proposal for the data space protocol. So that's public and under review for the moment. And yeah, in this context, we have a liaison with ST38 at ISO IEC. And so that's really the goal, to put together those specifications, to push them as ISO IEC standards, and then to have international standards on those important topics we are talking about today. And with that, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Gael, for this comprehensive overlook. And I think it's also important that all data spaces experts understand what are the opportunities of this process, which you just have spotted and explained in detail. So thank you very much for this.
Yeah, because definitely it's open to everybody to participate, and that's really a large commitment of the community. So
exactly. Thank you very much for this. So now that we understood the establishment of the Eclipse Data Space Working Group on data spaces, it is now also the time that my dear colleague Silvia Castelvi gives us an input and an overview of the strategic global standardization activities of IDSA. And as I already mentioned, this is exactly the responsibility of Silvia in the IDSA head office. Silvia, please go ahead.
No. With this presentation, I will I will introduce you briefly about a strategic overview of IDSA contribution to standardization, and then we can discuss, okay? So first of all, I will rely on one statement from our CTO, Sebastian Steinbus, that at this moment standardization is not longer an option, it's a must. So as you have commented before, we need to achieve interoperability. There are great initiatives, not only in Europe, around the world. And in order to bring it to the market, we need the standards. We need to do it in a standardized way. So I would like to introduce how we are contributing from IDSA on achieving these standardization topics. And for that, I have used a slide from Klaus from Atos to introduce you around 4 topics that we are working on achieving standardization, or we see that the standardization could be done. It is an incomplete overview, so you can enrich it. One topic is when we talk about data spaces specific. Here we are talking about standardizing data spaces, but also it is needed to standardize the connectors, the cybersecurity of the connectors, and the data space protocols that we talk later. But as you commented, we need to trust. So a standardization on trust, identity, it's also needed. And also we have included here the European Commission, the different regulations that affects to the data spaces in order to achieve the data market that the Commission is proposing in Europe. But also important to understand each other. So we need to standardize the semantics, the policies that we are achieving agreements, but also how to standardize the metadata for publishing the data or the data itself, the data sets itself. And then, of course, this is for market purpose, for monetizing the data in some cases, and we need to make data visible in marketplace or data trading solutions. But how, from IDSA, we are driving this standardization. As you know, in Europe, we are working strong with the European Commission on research projects. So the research projects enable us to implement the architecture that we have defined, but also the rule book, technical papers, and the data space protocol that we will talk later. So all these important achievements are implemented in different initiatives. It could be research projects, as I commented, or private projects initiative that has been presented before. So in these cases, as an example, I want to introduce you the Energy Task Force. The Energy Task Force is a group of 6 projects in energy sector that are implementing in Europe the first energy data spaces. And in these projects, they have needs for interoperability, they have interoperability requirements, and they have joined forces in order to define how a common European energy data space should look like in order to achieve interoperability. I encourage you to visit our website and download the paper where you will find some insights. This is just a first step because they are working now how to make this interoperability how to implement it under use cases that brings together the different data spaces. And here they are thinking about, for example, flexibility use cases. Okay, all these achievements, all these conclusions, we have experts as Antonio Kuhn, that will talk later, participating in this group, and all this information is brings to the standardization bodies into different committees, okay? I am not going to enter in data. As it has been presented before, another way that we see to contribute to standardization is through Eclipse open source implementations. And here we have, as presented, the Eclipse Data Space Working that will support the implementation of the data space protocol standard. I don't have time to go in deeper. In fact, we have the first release of this year of the data space protocol 2024. And I have added this slide because you can find information about this data space protocol if you are not familiar with it. Here, very quickly, we split the data space protocol provides a standardized way in order to agree how to exchange data between connectors once it has been the trust verified with the identity management, and then how to negotiate the contract, how to publish the data, and how to negotiate how share data. And in data plane, we really exchange the data. It could be inside the connector, but it could be using other endpoints, okay? And then we open for more protocols for current data sharing initiatives that are exchanging data using different protocols in different domains. I go very fast because we are struggling with the time, but if you can access to the slides and go deeper. And also I invite you to go to GitHub where you can find all the specification of the data space protocol, very important at this moment. And here you already have explained how we standardize, but through Eclipse Data Space Working Group. But coming back to the standardization activities, IDSA is participating directly into standardization committees. But also we have connections or liaisons with important standardization committees or initiatives. I have included in these slides, first of all, Eclipse. We plan to standardize the data space protocol because it will give us the interoperability between not only inside the data space, also inter data spaces. It is easy to achieve, to agree between two data spaces, to achieve interoperability that each connector can understand and start sharing data easily. But then we need also to establish the cross domains interoperability, and of course we are talking here cross-border interoperability. And we are promoting this concept of how to establish data spaces mechanisms, how to establish the data space interoperability under the ISO SC38 committee, where recently, last year, a first working item has been approved. You can see here this 20151 data space that will standardize the data space concept and characteristics. So this is the first achievement. But we have liaisons, and Antonio will explain later, with other steering committees regarding artificial intelligence and also the IoT and digital twins. Going to another important topic is the European Commission wants to standardize the regulations that has been published recently. And for that purpose, Sensenelec, under the BTWG6 data spaces cloud and edge, has agreed to start a technical committee that is going to be presented this Friday, next Friday in Brussels on Sensenelec, in order to standardize the different regulations from the European Commission under this committee. So we plan to establish close relations with them in order to promote the data spaces standardization activities that we are developing and to be aligned, because we need to establish it at European level, but also at international level. And for that purpose, very briefly, the European Commission is working also on the high-level forum on European standardization. They have established a working group where there are a work stream on data interoperability. So these activities and proposal for standardization in Europe is very relevant and very close related with the activities that we are developing. So we are aligning with them through the Data Space Support Center. Another important and relevant initiative at European level is the Trusted Data Transactions workshop. It's a pre-standardization activities where under CENELEC standardization group, where we are defining how to establish a trusted data transaction mechanism, defining it, and it is aligned also with the DSSC. In order to achieve the trust, the identity management, we follow W3C, the decentralized identifiers and verifiable claims working groups. So very well known on this sector. But also for semantics publishing the data, we are implementing, you can find it on the data space protocol, the different protocols that we are proposing and following in order to publish data sets for exchanging data, DCAT and ODRL for policies definition. And finally, okay, that's all from my side. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sylvia, for introducing to us the strategic, let's say, activities of IDSA in this standardization and global standardization activities. And now we are shifting again to an online speaker. Antonio Kung was already mentioned by you, Sylvia. Antonio, I have introduced you already comprehensively at the beginning of this roundtable. So therefore, I just open the floor for you, and the stage is yours, Antonio.
Thank you very much. Do you hear me well?
Very well, thank you.
Okay,
and I will go forward with your presentation.
Thank you. So could get the next slide. I'm going to talk about the integration of IoT and digital twin in data space and impact of standardization. And I also talk about AI. So myself, I'm the CEO of Trilog. I'm involved in many instances of standardization, not only data space, but many vertical, horizontal topics, certain vertical topics. Can you get to the next slide? So here is my involvement as editors. I put a code of color. When it's green, it's published. When it's orange, it's at national level, red, expert level. And I put in yellow those which are related to data spaces. Thank you. Go to the next slide. Okay, so the first issue I want to highlight is what we call integration issue, horizontal versus vertical interplay. And IDSA is publishing a document on the energy. So each vertical has its own, let's say, requirements and regulation, yet we want to get into a data space world, okay? So we have data sources coming from energy, smart manufacturing, health. Sometimes we want to combine them. Sometimes we want to be alone, isolated, okay? Go to the next slide. So here's an example of IoT integration. Okay, some people say connection or integration, but basically I have information about my health. I want to transmit some of this information to the data space, yet of course capturing and making sure that privacy is handled properly. Go to the next slide. But this is a very simple picture, and in reality it's more complex, and we can use the digital twin to show why it has to be like this. So you can have a digital twin of the human body, okay, which is then, let's say, measured through IoT sensors. And then you have a model of a given digital twin of a person, and then you want to share information, okay? You can see that this is an example where actually individual information is at stake, yet there are a few things that you might want to share because you want to do, let's say, high-level analysis, LLMs, and things like that. Go to the next slide. So once you have said that, actually the picture is not as easy because, particularly in this example, you have security and privacy by design in the infrastructure from the bottom, where you have IoT system, digital twins, to the data space. Okay, so there were some questions before about how can we do assurance of privacy before we publish. And actually, it's all along the data pipeline. Okay, I see in yellow a number of things that are solutions or orientations that are going to that direction. So you have the IDSA connector, which actually will include some, let's say, concerns about security and privacy and other things. Okay, and of course, Eclipse has created this working group of data space. And you heard from Gael that there are a few things that are ongoing. I also mentioned that Eclipse has created an interest group called Models for Privacy, which is international. And actually, one of the first focus will be how do we deal with privacy in a data space and in a database space ecosystem. Go to the next slide. So actually, here is the impact standard. Here's a simplified version. Sorry, cannot read the red stuff, so I'm going to tell them. Okay. So in the middle, you have SC38, which is actually working on the standard which Sylvia mentioned, which is 21151. Okay, data space concept characteristics. But actually, it has to leverage interoperability aspect and architecture aspects. So interoperability aspects, actually there is a standard led by China on this process of extracting data and creating the data products that will be published in the data space. Okay, so and this takes into account the digital twin approach. On the left, you have the architecture, and you can see things such as data space reference architecture, connector, IoT reference architecture, digital twin reference architecture. And actually, the point is that we do not have one architecture, but multiple views of the architecture that we have to integrate properly. Okay, so if you see on the right, you have SC32, which is actually standardizing data usage and data usage guidelines. Okay, and yet on the far right, sorry, we cannot read. You have something in SC27 called data provenance, and this is a standard we have to use. On the left, you have architecture standard in SC7 and SC27 on digital twins and also privacy models. Okay, sorry, I should change my picture because it's not that visible. Okay, and so the next thing is if I can share my screen, I was asked that I can show something. So if the host can give me the screen, I want to share one slide. Okay, so I'm not sure whether this is, otherwise I will just mention. So Jarek told me that he would do this. So no, that doesn't work. So okay, so let me just say to you that we are doing a study on data and data space standards, and we have the following topics. Okay, data usage, data sharing metadata is coming from SC38, 32. Data sharing expressing the usage, this is going for SC38. Data sharing representation, data sharing governance, data sharing policy, data sharing privacy, data sharing security. You have data sharing quality and trustworthiness. So it was mentioned earlier. Okay, and we have data space infrastructure, so which includes 21151. And last but not least, you have data sharing AI. Okay, where you have about 10 standards which are actually worth integrating. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Antonio. And we will make sure that the list which you just mentioned will be distributed by email with the presentation to the audience. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So then we are approaching the last speaker of the session 2. And I'm very happy to welcome Dr. Sha Wei from the China Academy of Information and Communications Technology. Dr. Wei, can you hear us?
Yes, very clear. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well. So I have introduced you already at the very beginning of this roundtable comprehensively. So I'm happy to hand over to you, and please give your input in the next 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving me the floor and introduce me at the beginning. Thank you so much. And good afternoon and good evening to everyone. This is Sha, and it's really my great honor to participate in the Global Data Space Roundtable in Barcelona and Beijing virtually. And let's explore the standardization works of trusted data metric system architecture together. Thank you so much. Would you please help me to turn to the next page? Thank you. Okay, thank you. So data sharing, as everybody has discussed, is really crucial for unlocking data's value, but faces significant challenges, including intellectual property and leakage concerns, data open sharing, uncontrolled usage, post-sharing limits willingness to share valuable data, and the lack of a unified secure environment complicates data circulation and so on. And all these kind of things, barriers hinder industry digitalization and also the activation of data markets, affecting innovation and also privacy in industry, government, and also personal data sharing. Next page, please. So in China, guided by all this kind of strategic policies from the State Council, we have established directives to enhance the data element bucket and also several technical rules for data circulation. While recognizing the critical role of data circulation, the National Data Bureau, which has been established last September, considers the construction of data space as the key to unleashing the value of data elements, also underscores the importance of other data infrastructure like blockchain, high-speed networks, and also many other things. So this kind of initiatives are foundational to our digital transformation and also positioning data circulation as both the infrastructure and also the catalyst for maximizing the value of data elements in the digital economy. Next page, please. So as we already recognize, the clear value and development direction of data elements, promoting data circulation has become a really top priority. So this involves engaging in ongoing standard system construction projects and fostering international collaboration. So by establishing a framework of standards, I noticed that IDSA also already have that. We also share some similar concerns, including the system model, digital contract, data identification, interoperability, testing standards, and so on. And we think that is very crucial for enabling a global understanding and consensus on digital sharing. And also, we have made our efforts to extend collaboration with IDSA, Katina X, Fraunhofer, and many other partners to ensure these kind of standards are universally applicable and facilitate cross-border data flows. And we also think that is really essential. Next page, please. So this time I want to share with you is trusted data metric system architecture. So here I want to give you some background about why we are dealing with this. Because we want to answer four very critical challenges in the digital landscape. The first one is the absence of unified consensus on data sharing protocols and the scarcity of industry reference for secure data circulation, and also the lack of application guidance, also the complexity hindering ecosystem-wide collaboration. So here, for trusted data metric system architecture that we studied in IEEE is designed to forge a path through these obstacles, offering a coherent, secure, and scalable framework for data sharing. And also it aims to establish a reliable consensus, provide clear industry references, and also guide application process and facilitate seamless collaboration within the digital ecosystem. Next page, please. So within this, we really collaborate with a lot of partners. So one way is to have continued dialogue and collaboration within our working group, P3158. And we also collaborate with our consortium, which is the Trusted Data Metrics Consortium. And we try to leverage collaborative expertise and insights to develop standards that can gain different insights from the stakeholders and to facilitate secure, efficient data sharing. Next page, please. So within this standard, firstly, you can find the definition of trusted data metrics. I have already shared that in the last year and the year before last. So it is a kind of sophisticated framework designed to enhance the security, reliability, and efficiency of data sharing across different entities. And here, this architecture is really in foundation to accelerating the development of the data element market. So here we kind of have some main characteristics to summarize this system architecture. So first one is that we have development of two distinct types of business models, federated mode and centralized mode, tailored to facilitate versatile data circulation needs. And here we don't mean gather the data together in a centralized platform, but to interpret the possible data services provided to different stakeholders may be centralized. And we also specify the participants within the trusted data matrix. And we have categorized them into 4 main categories and then further into 17 subcategories. And to ensuring that in this comprehensive ecosystem, everybody can be represented. And furthermore, a cornerstone of this architecture is focused on protecting the rights and the interests of all parties involved in data circulation. So it can be followed all the kind of regulations and laws in different regions. Next page, please. So here you can see that this house-like system architecture, we follow the methodology of SIC IEEE 42010 system architecture and structured in 4 dimensions: business view, functional view, technology view, and process view. And we also encounter of different key stakeholders, data providers, consumers, third-party service providers, and regulators. And most importantly, this architecture is designed to be universally applicable across all types of data, ensuring its relevance and adaptability to various data sharing scenarios. So no matter it is unstructured data like document, blueprint, like the use case has shown in the first session, or unstructured data to be further used in federated learning, MPC, privacy computing, or others, they are all applicable by our system architecture. Next page, please. Thank you. And here you can see that we have explored these 2 distinct business models within our system architecture. So the first federated mode emphasizes distributed data and autonomous services, where data providers retain control, offering a decentralized approach to data sharing. And this model encourages self-service in data category and also contract signing, fostering independence and flexibility for both data providers and consumers. It is applicable for the partners within a company and also the supply chain partners. And conversely, the centralized mode combines distributed data with centralized services, involving a service provider who streamlines the process from category to digital contract management and so on. And it could be a bunch of other third-party service providers work together to realize this function. And also, we try to ensure that the consistency and simplicity to different scenarios by both of these modes. Next page, please. I will get to the system architecture shortly. First, in the business view, we have 45 essential business activities being identified, spanning 9 data lifecycle phase from data connection to post-sale services. And this kind of strategy ensures comprehensive coverage for our 4 stakeholders, fostering a robust data sharing environment that is both dynamic and responsive to the intricate demands of the data circulation. Next page, please. And to support the business view, we have the functional standpoints. Here we categorized it into 7 main categories with 13 subcategories of key functions tailored to support the intricate requirements of the business activities. Include the robust identification and authentication to integrate data asset management and seamless supply and demand docking, all within a trusted environment that prioritizes data asset control and compliance. Next page, please. And in the realm of the technology, our focus is we develop it into 31 core technologies rooted in the 7 pivot functions, from advanced multi-factor authentication to smart contracts, privacy computing, blockchain technologies, and ensuring a state-of-the-art secure foundation for our trusted data metrics. Next page, please. And we also have this kind of process view, which try to connect all the services and all the different stakeholders together by a time sequence. So it kind of sequence business activities within the data lifecycle, incorporating crucial information transfer, decision checkpoints, and also alternative pathways to ensure a seamless and efficient data journey. So we also provide XML language in the appendix so that the companies can use that to initiate their study, and we will also provide that in the open source. Next page, please. And finally, in the implementation view, so here our architecture approach incorporates a server-client structure in one instance, focusing on data provision and client-centric functionalities. And in contrast, our centralized mode is underpinned by a network of connected platforms, providing seamless interactions between clients and platforms, as well as among diverse third-party service platforms, thus ensuring versatility and comprehensive coverage in data service provision. As you can see here, the connectors is one kind of this kind of provider clients. So we try to make it universal to all kind of applications. Next page, please. So finally, in conclusion, so the trusted data metrics system is designed with 45 key business activities along the life cycle of the data sharing, and also to encompass all the kind of different stakeholders. And we have developed different kind of key functions and as well as the technologies to support these functions reality. And one of the standout features of this system architecture is the process perspective. We offer this kind of, just as I mentioned, XM language, which make it significantly easier for enterprise to develop and implement trusted data metrics and make these standards machine readable and machine executable. So after a half-year collaboration, also this trusted data metric system architecture and international data space reference architecture model have done a solid result on architecture alignment and further interoperability collaboration. So this year we will publish a white paper together to identify the results that we have achieved. So we believe that both this architecture will play a vital roles in the data sharing and circulation and can both provide significant value to the digital economy together in this data sharing area. So thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Shah, for this input, a lot of input on the trusted data metrics and the work which have been achieved by your organization. So now we are also in this second session rounding up the session in panel discussion on defining standards for global data exchange and actions required for cross-border data flow. And to kickstart this, I would like to ask Vaibhav Sharma from TÜV Süd to give an input which you have prepared on certification and assessment experiences from your side. Please, the floor is yours.
Sorry. So it's good we had discussion earlier on the similar points, and we have most of it, I would say, been addressed by many of the esteemed present speakers here. I would say the cross-border flow matter was a topmost priority here, and the challenge which I like to highlight is the tangled web of data. Considering the current landscape, data standard resembles as previous one, resembles as a tangled web with varying the formats and definitions in it. Considering I'm coming from a TIC background, which is kind of a conformity assessment body who review these standards and help the organization to build and get them qualified for the labeling scheme for various frameworks. And considering this significant challenge for the cross-border data flow, these challenges are further compounded by concerning fragmented landscape, like existing data standards are very industry to industry, very region-wise also, and creating compatibility issues, which we were earlier also talking, Oscar, and I guess it's also mentioned that how regional importance evolving is required. Considering privacy concern as an EU-centric perspective, cross-border data transfer, this is paramount in the criticality, and the privacy and security consideration are required. This creates a regulatory hurdle, which is a differing data governance regulation, considering each territory try to prioritize their own self-interest in first, but when we have to do globally, it have to be at that exchange some point in time. Moving on to the next one, we will talk on these 6 principles in it, but generally these are global data standard principle being adopted already in the previous discussions by, I guess, been mentioned by Dong also, Gail, also Sylvia mentioned about standards. So the privacy protected individuals already been covered there. Transparency, providing clear accessible information about practices and governance should be the privacy and security look into the same landscape. Interoperability, ensuring data can be easily transferred and shared across different systems is a paramount right now. Considering when we're talking about data, security should be embedded as part of it. So looking into how security embed in that data to make sure the robust security controls have been applied to secure and prevent the data unauthorized access. Accountability of these data, how these organizations exchange between them is another principle to look in. Global data standard, which anchor these principles, should ensure data exchange conducted in a responsible and ethical manner. Considering being part of a TIC, we generally look into these a lot detailing when the organization come for the labeling scheme, because generally the standard body is looking for the conformities to upscale the bar in here. Moving on to the next slide. I guess this is nothing new. I guess speaker have covered all these 5 points already, and that's make me feel like what I put it on the board has been agreed to everyone. Collaborative governance is something everyone looking into. Capacity building, considering how these supporting developing countries should develop it. Public awareness campaign, the training part, which I guess Goods mentioned and Lars also said this is learning for us that we should have programs, something like today also we having this, promoting the innovation part of it, encouraging the research. I believe most of the online speakers are coming from the research background, and this showcase that yes, research is paramount in it, and multifaceted approach in it. Collaboration between inclusive decision-making process is needed, considering the data exchange need a quality also to be reviewed in it. Empowering development countries participating actively, that's also a part. One zone, one area, or Asia Pacific, it cannot work. It have to be one perspective to see all global entities to include in it. Moving to the next one, it's a merely example of what kind of frameworks are available. Considering we already seen the principle to be adopted, consider international framework and organization are available. Let's see the funnel approach, which are available. IDSA is already there. I have example for APC, cross-border privacy, CBR. Uh, OECD, I guess Oscar also mentioned about OECD. It's been there from 2015 and 2021. They already revised. These guidelines are there. The new one, I like to focus on GaiaX because it's been getting attraction more and more in European side, and they're focusing on building the secure and sovereignty of European cloud. At least they are very clear on the principle that how they would like to make sure in Europe region, every vendor who's coming in, who managing the data provider, they should follow the same GaiaX principle to get the labeling, getting achieved. Moving on to the next slide. I just want to cover up the 7 principles of the GaiaX, very merely high, so that everyone understand what we're talking about here in GaiaX. It includes the principle of openness, transparency, security, interoperability, federation, authenticity, and trust. We all discussed in the morning about transparency, security, and interoperability. Trust was the last factor. I guess we all say the trust framework is needed. So I won't touch every principle, but the last two I would like. The trusting GaiaX plans to cover the 6 data spaces, initially expansion expected across domains joining this facility. And the data space between these cloud adoption is important, considering GaiaX playing a pivot role in promoting interoperability and probability of cloud services. If you see in this way, the objectives of openness and transparency have been achieved. Moving on to the next one. What are the industry challenges right now? Considering we are talking about standards and how these can be validated, the challenge is how technically challenged, if I bucket it up in a 3 category, sharing of a design, who share design among between how the data been quality have been defined, how the data exchange will be happen, decentralization and privacy protection, considering each country have its own way of deriving their GDPR and also the privacy protection laws. As a business wise, it's been categorized between global competition, dynamic ecosystem, and digital transformation. I believe digital transformation been covered with multiple examples. Use case have been shared, like automotive. We talked already the use case. We talked about uh, car charging use case. We also talked about IoT, smart cities. So it's all considering digital transformation in it. Trust is one of the principles we have said that about it, considering the trust is the data exchange we need, and trust also the quality of the data being used. Legal compliance is the data protection and privacy preservation. This is something in the Europe-centric very paramount and we started very initial stage GDPR compliance. The last is we already have this solution being in GAIX somewhere developing the open and transparent data infrastructure, protecting the data to support based on these sovereignty data principles. It helps the infrastructure of non-EU cloud service provider may who not able to comply now, but now they have a view of how to get it compliant by following these principles, and they may overcome these challenges. Considering GAIX providing that framework, labeling scheme, PRLD in quite exhaustive detail. In last 1 year, they've been upgrading it a lot. Moving on to the last slide, I would say I won't take much more time here now to conclude on this, but it's a combined team effort. Considering working together is a defined clear goal in this, standardizing the data, exchanging the benefit will definitely there. Collective information commitment is needed. I would say one of the co-sponsor of the event also, Huawei is the early mover in this direction, considering we got opportunity to work last year with them very closely, where we work with the excellent team with Atul and these guys, where we have developed a methodology where we harmonize all the standards which is needed for these European Cloud Union, and also not only the cloud perspective, but also the cybersecurity perspective of it. So we harmonize those standards to develop a methodology so the organization can gauge themselves where they are standing today to apply for these labeling schemes. And I believe that's where Huawei is a little mature in that direction. They have active members and supporting IX quite a long time. And it's been IDSA, similar organizations are there. And these kind of initiative will like to have more and more. So from my side on this take is that considering many PRLD documents are available for GAIX and these firms, going through them, harmonizing these standards will help in certifying the blueprints, which help the organization to achieve global data space, what is our objective in this. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Viper, for this input. Also use it as a kickstart for discussing. I have already two virtual hands raised up, but the people are sitting here in this round. So first of all, I want to give the floor to Begonia Laibara, sorry, Begonia Laibara from the company SQS. And why is this important when we are talking about certification and assessment? Because simply SQS is the evaluation facility in Europe, which is certifying software components, and the two recently certified connectors, one from T-Systems and the other one from VTT, were both certified by your company. So, Begonia, please speak up.
Yeah, hello. Nice to be here, okay? Oh. Sorry, really, okay, very nice to be here, okay? So I'll try to share a little bit my view, okay? So we have seen a lot of standards, okay? In general, in my opinion, standards are very important to provide trust in the design, trust from the design, okay? And the certification, what we are doing really is we are providing trust in the effective implementation of the connectors. So what we are doing with the certifications, we are providing evidence that the component, the connector, complies with the reference architecture model of IDSA, that it behaves in a secure manner, in an interoperable manner, okay? And in that way, it can be used in a safe way in every deployment. So really, what is important is that what we are really is fasten the adoption of a connector in the same way in a data space. So we are really testing the effective implementation of connectors that complies with the standards, okay? So that's basically what is important, the certification, okay? So I would say that way. And also it's an important part from the point of view of the business. We are talking about adoption. I think we need to fasten a little bit the adoption of data spaces. And for that, certified connectors and secure connectors are important. And provide transparent information to industry on the behavior of a connector is also important. We'll see many connectors in the near future working on operating in different devices, in the cloud, in the mobile, whatever. So the certification provides transparent information on where that connector operates and the conditions where that connector operates, and that helps a lot to the developers of data spaces to deploy data spaces. That's also important, okay? So because I think we have been talking before, a data space is not only technology, a data space is ecosystem, okay? And the important part of the data space is a new paradigm for business development. And there are many open issues to be tackled. So I think technology is one, and we provide, I would say, trust in technology, that's a key point, but we find to find time for, I would say, for companies to do other things apart from technology. And certification, for me, is a good instrument to reduce effort and time in deploying a data space. And also it's a good instrument to promote innovation whenever we develop a data space. We don't have to focus so much on that, but we have to focus on other things, on how to be, I would say, innovative whenever to provide data space, okay? So, and another important thing is that the certification is aligned with the reference architecture model. So as the reference architecture model, certification will evolve, okay? So that's an important line. And there are many aspects to be certified there, data quality, partners, whatever. At this moment, what we are certifying is connectors, which is a piece of the architecture, which is already a lot, okay? To start, I would say, data sharing, okay?
Thank you. Thank you, Begonia, for this input and also for explaining a little bit for those who are not so close to certification. And Sven, I saw your mic popping up, so please.
I want to comment, first of all, when you compare to the last year's a big step forward, that certification happened. I think, and this is a really fantastic comment. Second, I think what we have to focus on is a little bit, because I was really interested to see that you have a test bed. Test beds are available, Basecamp, other scenarios that I'm seeing across different countries are pushed a lot. My comment to this is machine readable specifications would be my answer to even create more adaptation. And I would love to see next year that we have one test bed with all these different certification standards that we just saw here, and then everybody can play his role. When I'm coming from a specific certification area like digital identities, then I'm playing with these fields. When I'm coming maybe from data sharing aspect, I'm playing with other specification and components. But ideally, it should be machine readable in one common language. Otherwise, it would be really complicated to have it interoperable at the end. And this would be a little bit we're not at the closing remarks, but this is at least my comment.
Your requirement for future certification. Thank you, Sven, for this. So I also want to motivate the 3 online speakers. If you are interested to join, just raise your hand and we are spotting you. But now I see, Thomas Lee, that your mic is on. Also, please, your comment on this.
Thank you. So, I have sorry, I have 3 points to share on this discussion. The first is about the cross-border data flow. The key issue here is that if we do it wrong, it could have a very big amount of penalty in dollars. That's big risk. So the better way to deal with that is to make it simple. I learned from the Chinese National Data Bureau that they are going to make it simple because they are defining a whitelist. The whitelist of data that is strongly related with the national security and national strategic topics. This is a very short list. And any data not included in the whitelist is free to cross-border flow. So if we can drive all the countries to do these things simpler, this is good for us, this regulation way. The second point is about the standards for global data exchange. Sylvia already shared us a good view of all the data space standardization. I'm not worried about transparency, openness, or all of things standard principles in these SDOs. They're doing their job. The key issue is that how to collaborate. Because if we have 2 SDOs defining the same thing, that split of the market, that's the headache of all the players in the market. So maybe IDSA already started this research. Maybe IDSA can do something here to make sure all collaboration, everybody don't do the same thing, to have the very strict defined scope of everybody. So that is very important for that. The third one, maybe not the least, but not the last but not least one, is we should understand the beginning, very beginning of the data space, what's the motivation come from. It's all come from the business. The entities who is going to sell out the data is that they're going to earn the revenues. For them, the competitiveness of these entities are the quality of the data, just like I mentioned earlier. For the buyers of the data, they're mostly trying to use that data they don't own to enhance their competitiveness as well. So in this case, I think the standardization of database should more focus on these 2 parts to drive the business to become bigger and bigger. And along with that, we can define the exchange or other sharing standards over there. But just remember, don't forget the commercial motivation. That's 3 points I want to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thomas, on this comments and also this insights. We have spotted now two hands up from the online participants. I think it's first Antonio Kung, who wants to co-comment on the topic discussed. Antonio, please.
Yes, thank you. I didn't know how to raise my hand just or physically. Okay, so one of the things that is important is a statement that the connector is one piece of the architecture and a very important piece, okay? But it's also a piece which is connecting organizations because you have organizations providing what is below and organization providing what is or using what is above, okay? So the architecture is a global architecture, but we have to do the mapping between on the stakeholders organization because when you certify, you always certify a company work, whether it's the organization itself or whether it's a technology or a product that it is doing, okay? And we have to have this clear because what is certified in one organization might not be what is certified in another organization because their roles are different. That's the reason why the architecture of the data space and the infrastructure, the relationship with infrastructure, for instance, on top of the data space, below the digital twins, below the IoTs, the smart energy people, the smart grid people, the transport people, this has to be done carefully, okay? And one thing I want to say is that it's not one solution fits all. It's an adaptable, so the architecture is the same, but we need to take into account the interplay. So I'm not going to certify the same way the smart grid and the transport or the health. It's going to be a little bit different, but we need to allow for that, okay? And this is, to me, one of the key challenges of the future.
Thank you, Antonio, for this insights. And our second raised hand virtually is from Professor Kojizuka. Please, your input or your comment on this topic discussed.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I'm very interested in the discussion of this session. And my opinion is very similar to the Antonio-san's opinion. I think in this session, the interoperability of a connector is the main topic. I think many people say that connector. But I also think that for the data space, we need much more component or much more functions. For example, the data itself interoperability, the syntax layer, semantics layer, and also data exchange protocols, data catalogs, and marketplace, trust, rule regulation, and data quality. So many points for the standardization. So the priority is very, very important. And more high-level standard is also important. So I have two proposals. First one is, firstly, we should tackle with to establish the high-level architecture of the data space. This is very, very important. And to the standard terminologies and the standard wording, such kind of the architecture is very important. After that, the agreement of the requirement and service and applications prior to the concrete standards, I think this kind of meta standard is very, very important. And the second proposal is we had better to have a international technology test bed. I think that we should try several things in such kind of international test bed. I think we have in Japan, the Japan test bed have, and in Europe, I think that there is a test bed. But for the international standardization, the international test bed is a very good way for the technical discussion. So that is my proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we have two more hands up here. One moment, Götz. The one now is from Götz Brasche from Huawei.
Yeah, I just have a question to you. So we talked about certification is regional, so it may differ and we should allow for that. And then we talk about international test beds. So what I learned is that companies, of course, would like to have one certification scheme because it makes it easy, in particular when they are operating on a global scale. If we take into consideration the different certification schemes, then I do not see that an international test bed will easily work because you have to have more testbeds which are then also allowing the certification, because it, as you said, has impact to the requirements for service design and applications. So that's why I just wanted to get your perspective on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Götz. Should we ask Professor Kushizuka to answer directly, if it is possible? Maybe not. Then we will skip it. No, he's there. Please speak up. You have to unmute yourself, I guess. Or someone else has to unmute.
Yeah. So
now we can hear you. Please go ahead.
I didn't hear the previous opinions. So please skip me. Sorry.
Can you repeat, Götz?
I of course can repeat again. So if we allow certification which is based on the regulatory requirements in the various regions, and we talk about the international testbed, then I just would like to understand how this works, because the testbeds must be presumably set up differently according to the regional regulatory requirements and then the certification schemes. That's why I just wanted to get your opinion. How does this fit together? International, global testbed, and then these dynamic certification schemes.
Yes, yeah. Thank you very much for your opinion. I think, but now I have my opinion that the international testbed have two functions. And the first function, because now is the starting point of the international standardization, and everyone do not know what is the technology that really is. For example, I never see the many connected technology or many technology I have never seen. So I think for European people, I think the Japanese technology they have not experience to have. So such kind of the technical information exchange is very important in the initial stage of the standardization, I think. So international testbed, the first function is this kind of technology information exchange. The second function is after the internationalization, the certification is very important. So the second function is certification of the concrete international standard. So I mean that the two function is possible for the international test beds. And now is the first stage, I think.
Okay, thank you very much for this input, and I think we can also continue after this roundtable bilateral exchange on this. So when we were talking about this international standardization, yes, but we have one other. I want to ask one question to Professor Liu Dong, because I know that you have a lot of experience in the standardization and rollout of Internet Protocol version 6. So I was wondering if you might have any recommendations for the data space, let's say, activities in the next 1 or 2 years as well, which could be of help to tackle these challenges.
Yes, the IPv6 is a key protocol in the next generation internet. It's just a start. I think that the past 10 years is a very important issue is get a global consensus, like that the different country, that IETF, that IEEE, different body, and can get the consensus, because we have a cyberspace more and more. So I think the Google, the research is now is a global, the IPv6 traffic is over the 50%. And at first it's IPv6 enabled in the Euro and the United States, but now it's India and China very fast, quickly. So the one thing is, I think that The IDSA's more the contribution is leading the industry and administration can get the consensus together globally. It's a one concept and one architecture, different technology solution, but we need the consensus. And to this consensus, we go to the like the IETF is RFC, standard. It can understand it's industry understand or consensus. It's very important. And I think we have a more the contribution last introduction. One solution, one suggestion is IDSA is a standard body. It can talk about the fast track from the different standard body like IEEE, IEC, ISO, and the industry standard different, answers together. It's very quickly to move ahead. Not the many standards happened. We need the consensus. We need the moving ahead. The next is the pilot project. It's like said, is the global test bed. And industry showcase is very important. It's a need link together. How the concept, architecture, and how the solution, they're here is from industry. They have solution, they have technical. We link it together globally. It's very important. And I don't think it's a domestic technology, it's global, the more fastly. And then it's important is everybody test is certificate and testing. And the concept should be the test and the certificate. And the IPv6 in the past 10 years, I think they have 300 companies, so 4,000 product solutions and certificates, difference. And the product solution, and from the switch router, go to the smart IoT, smart car, everything. For everything, if we enabled IPv6, it should be the certificates. So I hope the more the shared experience to our study party after to move the global activities to the certificate and the testing. And it's happened like the user and the industry, like it's an industry, it's a business. It's not the research, only research. It's a happen. So it's important, I think. And then so now the from we had said the user case from the power data, and from the China side, they have more the user case hope to development, including the boarding car cross the issue. This should be the emergency to have a solution. It's a chance for the data space to use our technologies, to have a solution, to have a showcase, to show everybody, compare. So I suggest maybe half of this year we have together, and the conference in the Asia, especially in China, South and the North, and together. And this moment we can move ahead the standard and the showcase. So it's achieved the China. It's very hard to promote the data infrastructure. This is very important. This is huge. They have very interested data space technology and the concept architecture that we link together. It's powerful. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much for this input. And we have, before I hand over for the concluding remarks to Lars, I want to give the floor again very quickly to you, Shah from CAICT. Antonio, as you have already spoken, we see your hand, but we do not have time. So we have to shift it to somewhere else, okay?
Thank
Dr.
you.
Wei,
Thank
please
you so
speak up
much.
briefly.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me the floor. So I just want to really quickly address how to promote the establishment of global standards for cross-border data flows. So I agree with all the participants previously said that we need to foster international collaboration, just as we're doing today. So from test beds to use cases and to international standards, and then to conformity assessment. So this kind of a chain that we have done before should also be applied to data space. One more thing I want to add is that to development and promotion of global data standards, we should not forget about SMEs. Because they also have this kind of challenges of cross-border data flows. To empower them in this data sharing facilities, so we should support them through technical assistance and also to give them access to modern infrastructure and also to help them understand what we have built here for our frameworks and also to let them be part of the international data protocols, just as mentioned before. So this will finally give us a very globalized data sharing ecosystem. Thank you so much.
Thank you for this comment. And now I hand over to my dear colleague Lars Nagel to sum up not only the discussion, but also the whole round table. Lars, please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much. And well, this is a challenging task. So I've made some notes and maybe we can draw some conclusions from that super interesting day and conversation so that we have something to take with us. And Liu Dong, thank you for all your remarks. I think this calls for a meeting, well, still this year to conclude what and then follow up what we just discussed. So I think some of the elements that have been pointed to are already part of IDSA's activity. So you might not all be very familiar with what IDSA is doing. So therefore, please allow me to give a short overview and please join us. So what we see here is that what we have worked on in IDSA, all the reference architecture, data space protocol, rulebook have been taken as a foundation for erecting data space in different places. And we see innovators, so Catena-X, Mobility Data Space, Data-EX. Well, this is currently already very, very similar. And also the early adopters are, well, now building on top of that. And then we see now, obviously, the early majority. That was the main takeaway from today. So I would love to see all the great data space examples from China, from Japan, from Europe in that list here. And then also subsequently on the radar, because we need to give like inspiration to others, what is already out there and available. Next slide, please. And a lot of the activities that have been pointed at are or part of what we are doing in IDSA. And thank you for, again, this trigger. So in IDSA, we are a nonprofit organization. We want to build consensus and harmonize what is out there. So what I've heard today is that we have quite congruent concepts on data spaces. So, well, we have the IDSA work, which is super good for sure. We have the work that has been presented from China with this trusted data matrix. We also have the Data Society Alliance. This needs to be brought together, but I'm very confident that we can succeed in that. You can see also on that layer above, so it is not only about the technical and organizational perspective and of interoperability in data spaces that we are covering in IDSA, but also more like the trust framework. So we had the reference to Gaia-X. This is super complementary. And we see Data-EX already there as a logo, and we need to see who else should be part of the big table. And this has also been referred. So we need let's start first with one table to oversee all these activities. Then we can think of creating one body to oversee all the activities. So then that we can move it to global standardization and all the respective bodies that have been mentioned. We have a standardization working group in IDSA, and I would like to warmly invite everyone to join that. And this is organized by Sylvia, and you are now in contact with her. So therefore, this is great. So from the consensus building, what I also would like to focus on is from left to right. This is also what we've learned today. It is not only concepts, it's already technology and reality. So I was also really happy to see that we have a lot of usable technology out there. Our role is to make sure that everyone can really see that it is trustworthy. So that is why we need this conformity assessment or certification scheme. So we have that for the components in IDSA. We have that for with the labels in Gaia. Let's see what else we need. And you see here a data connector report and the data space radar. That is where we show components and where we show data space activities. And here I would also like to see all the great examples that have been shown from Huawei, from T-Systems, from China, from Japan, all of this, because currently we have roughly 150 data spaces and on the radar. And I'm sure after today, we will have like maybe rather 300 or so. And so therefore, please have a look at what we're doing here. Next slide, please. The data space protocol, this can be a very, very, so to say, the smallest common denominator. So this is very lightweight, but super important to really achieve that international interoperability between the components. We talked a lot about it. Next slide. And well, I want to come to an end as time is running. So what are the 6 points to take with at home? So I think we are all data space pioneers. That's good. So that unites us here. We believe that data spaces are an enabler for our future wealth. What I've heard is number one is we need to give the visibility to tech and the data spaces. So we have the radar, I mentioned it. Maybe also to experience it, like an adventure park. So this is the test bed. So let's really see if we can come up with a joint or several joint international test beds. So we have the great work from Professor Koshizuka. We have other test beds here. I know all of them, and I would say they are really congruent. So let's see that we combine that. Also, Alberto, you had great presentation on this. And let's see that we really come up with this true international viewpoint. We need that to go for global standardization. We still need to share all the basic knowledge. So capacity building, I read that on your slide, training, educational programs, we need that because there are so many SMEs, so many organizations that want to build data spaces that need to be like made aware first and then educated. So we need this. We still need to build more data spaces because it's really a big thing. We should embrace the regional strategy. So at the end, it happens more or less locally. So, and we have some very good inspiration from BiData, and we should give that visibility more and more. Yeah, standardization, that's clear. I don't want to add anything. We need that one big table, and we are more than happy to provide that big table in IDSA. In general, we have started this idea and coined the term of data spaces 8 years ago with IDSA. So I would say, for those who are not yet member of IDSA or not close to our activities, join our activities. We have working groups and different bodies and work streams on everything that I've just mentioned because, well, we have an international global activity, and there's no other international data spaces organization out there. So therefore, we are more than happy to host all of these great thoughts, and we are doing that in collaboration with all the different organizations that we are already partnering with, Eclipse, Gaia, DSA, Chinese partners. Yeah, let's accelerate this collaboration here. Liu Dong, thank you for the proposal. So I feel as well as you, we should meet, well, still that year, and maybe not in Europe, to really conclude all these great and consensual thoughts. Thank you for this great inspiration and reconfirmation that we are obviously on the right path and that we can make that great big thing happen. Thanks to everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lars, for this concluding remarks. And for me as a moderator, we are more or less perfectly in time, so I think we managed this quite well. I have just 4 technical announcements. So first of all, the slides will be shared by IDSA after this session. Then we will, as Lars mentioned, also have the support of Huawei for a roundtable in the second half of this year. Third, please leave the devices here in the room. Don't take them home. Yeah. And fourth, I want to say muchas gracias. Sheshe, arigato, thank you, merci, vielen Dank to all of you. And if you have time, stay a couple of more minutes for networking with us here in the room.